I'm Oscar Munoz, former chairman and CEO of United Airlines, and I'm a recent author of a book that I just wrote called Turnaround Time, of reuniting the friendly skies along with my wonderful employees.
Oscar, you spent a lot of your tenure at United focused on customer service, but as a civilian air traveler now, you say you empathize with ongoing customer frustrations with air travel. Where do you think the biggest pain points are now, and do you think that airlines are actually equipped to resolve them?
The airlines are not equipped to handle the things that really affect us as traveling public that we don't know about. The primary issue would be air traffic control. The system that we use in the United States is outdated and obsolete and has been for probably 15 to 20 years. There are, at last count, 60 countries that have modernized their air traffic control, and we just can't seem to get past our political divide on this issue. And that is, you're always going to have weather, you're always going to have issues in travel. In a modernized air traffic control system that can handle the increased volume at different times is what we have to go through, because right now, for the right important aspect of safety, we just ground aircraft or slow aircraft down so that we don't get a crowded airspace. And I think that's one of the more prominent things. Airlines do have a say. We lobby for this all the time, but it still goes a little bit of unheeded. Technology is an ever-growing aspect of things, and investing in the right things. You've seen some recent issues with one airline in particular that's had issues, and it has to do with a focused and specific set of investments on whether it's cloud migration and other things that most of the industry has been doing for some time. Those are the two things that are probably going to do. And then, of course, customer service is a human aspect, right? You don't care about much else if somebody treats you badly. And that, for me, is part of the turnaround at United, part of my own personal philosophy. You definitely have to make the people that work for you, because there are many, and they're usually by themselves when they're interacting with you. How do you make them feel the warmth and the friendly skies of United mantra when they deal with you on whatever issue you're having? And that is a leadership, connectivity, human dynamic that is always difficult. So those would be my top three.
You also mentioned in the book that it takes longer for airplanes today to fly the same distance that they flew in the 1990s, which is sort of crazy when you consider all of the technological innovation that we've had in the aircraft itself. So some of that is the air traffic control issues that you talked about, but then there's also the fuel cost issue. Can you talk a little bit about how that comes into play?
Well, back to the previous conversation on, yes, so airplanes have become increasingly 20, 30, 40% more fuel efficient from even a decade ago, but we're slowing them down because of our traffic. So we're burning just as much fuel. So the sustainability impact is high. And in essence, I always use the phrase, we're taking these high-end Ferraris, the new aircraft, and we're driving them on gravel roads, and it just slows them down. And so that's I think it's a double whammy there in the fact that you still slow people down and you're burning more fuel in a time where that's something we're trying to do less of.
And on the air traffic control issue, what actually has to happen? What should a better, more evolved system look like?
So it's complicated, as you might imagine. It's not like, just somebody snaps a hand. It is a sophisticated technology transformation for this system. It is government run and owned, and in my opinion, it is probably not a government project for two reasons. One, the best and brightest don't tend to go to government to work for these things, and we need the best and brightest. Plus, the funding mechanism for big projects like this requires multiple years of investment. And of course, in our political system with people shifting, what is a hot priority today may not be a hot priority for the next administration. So you have this funding mechanism that also inhibits people, which is yet again why the top talent may not necessarily go to these things. So it's a complicated process, multi-year, multi-administration sort of aspect that has to work through. But we have to write those kind of messages so that they get done soon rather than later.
And would you say it's a similar story for other kinds of transportation networks? Because before you were CEO of United, you were president and COO at CSX. So I presume you have some strong opinions on the rail industry in America, particularly in light of the recent derailment in Ohio by your former competitor, Norfolk Southern.
Sure. I mean, and the rails have done a really nice job. We supported our own infrastructure, so we didn't need any money. We are the most capital-intensive industry at the railroad anywhere in the U.S., and so we invested and did our own capital investments. There was a mandate on safety, which is one of the issues that you discussed, called PTC, positive train control, that was meant to avoid head-on collisions. So it's kind of like air traffic control, make sure that everyone's in their right space. And that was a multi-year, hugely self-funded expenditure. So that industry's been doing more, but with little help. Air traffic control is not something that the airlines control, so we really can't do much about it. But the highway is another place. We talk about infrastructure bills all the time. Our infrastructure was built in the middle 50s, and not a lot has been done. And so that requires an immense amount of capital to redo across. So the whole concept of air traffic control, infrastructure, all those various topics is broad and varied and will carry over administrations, which again, why it makes it difficult or easy, I guess, for people to just kick the can down the road.